Hey, what's happening, YouTubers? We're back with a brand new action figure review, and today we're going to take a look at the AliExpress Marvel Legends retro carded Spider-Man, which has been getting some buzz lately on the Marvel Legends community and on Facebook about like whether or not this is legit or if it's a knockoff. And we're going to take an in-depth look at it. Like we always do, we're going to start with the box art first. Before we begin, the reason why I don't have my Dragon Star series base stand is because I'm going to need the whole desk space to take a look at this. And also, I have the actual retro carded Spider-Man, which I picked up in 2020. But like we always do with the reviews, we're going to take a look at the box art first. And as you can see, this thing got smashed to shit on its way from China. I wasn't expecting it to be in mint condition, but Jesus. Now, there's a lot of things at first glance that I'm seeing on this card art that's making me think it's a knockoff version. But we're going to take a closer look. I'm just going to move the actual retro carded Spider-Man figure that I got in 2020 over here for now until we get a size comparison. Now, since I don't have the original retro carded Spider-Man still on card, just the one out of box, I have a couple to compare with it. I have the Cyborg Spider-Man, which came out in 2020. That's the reason why I picked this, because it came out at the same time the original one did. And I have the latest one from 2022 with the Symbiote Spider-Man to compare. Okay, I'm going to compare it with the retro carded Cyborg Spider-Man first. And this is what I was talking about at first glance that I could tell was kind of a knockoff. Well, at least the card art's a knockoff. If I zoom in closely, so both my strobes on the left side and my right side of my table are at 100%, but you can clearly see the AliExpress retro carded Spider-Man is darker than the actual Hasbro released one. And you also can tell by the shade of red on his hands easily that this one's darker than this. And if we zoom in even closer, you can kind of see the pixelation on the printing for this Spider-Man as opposed to the actual official release from Hasbro. Now this is where it gets tricky because when I move the Cyborg Spider-Man out of the way and compare it with the Symbiote one, which is from this year, it looks almost identical. So what could have happened is the factory that made these probably took the card art of the modern one from 2022 and just applied it onto this and then put in the retro carded Spider-Man on there. Because when looking, so if I put down the AliExpress one and comparing the Symbiote one with the Cyborg Spider-Man one, this one is darker. So, I don't know. So it's hard to differentiate, but I just feel like this one is a little bit more pixelated with the printing. And the reason why I know a little bit more about that is because I actually used to work at a printing lab, so I can kind of tell which one's like pixelated and which one's not. My guess is they also could have been using a smaller template file. That's why, like, when I zoom in here, you can kind of see the figures are kind of pixelated when comparing it to, like, the Cyborg Spider-Man one. This one's more pixelated because you can see the printing dots right there. And then on here, you can't really see it as much as it is on here. So, I don't know. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about the damn retro card. Let's go and just get this figure out of the box and compare. Here's Spider-Man out of the box, and right off the bat, I can tell that this Spider-Man has a different coating over the actual like original Spider-Man. If we take a closer look and zoom in, you can tell, especially in the legs, that the AliExpress one has a shinier coating finish on the legs than the actual one. All right, when comparing them side by side, so you're all aware, the one on the right is the one from AliExpress, and the one on the left was the one that was bought here in the States from Hasbro Pulse. So when comparing them, especially the head sculpt, you can kind of see the one from AliExpress has the unfinished painted webs right there on his head sculpt. Yeah, it's pretty visible right there. So like throughout, it's pretty unfinished, especially on the right side of his head. Whereas the Hasbro one, even though it wasn't completely finished right there, you can kind of tell side by side that this one has the better paint application than the one from AliExpress. And like mentioned before, it could very well have just been part of a bad batch of figures, hence why the paint application is pretty bad. You can look at the logos on both of their suits. They're pretty identical. And then if I go ahead and lift from cut back, so you can see that. And the pattern on there as well. So pretty identical in that respects as well. It's just that head sculpt was pretty bad. And then when comparing the rest of the suit throughout, it's pretty similar. It would have been funny. I was actually having a laugh because it would have been hilarious if the AliExpress version ended up having these pins blue so it matches the suit. I'm going to do a quick articulation test just to make sure that the one from AliExpress still has the same range of motion as the one that was released here in the States, or the official release one. So they both have the butterfly joint. So let's go ahead and see if it can still get as much movement on the butterfly joints, and yeah. So same amount of movement, and then now I'm taking a look at the diaphragm cut. So here is the actual officially released one. Diaphragm cut, and then ab crunch right there. This one, yeah, so still same range of motion, and ab crunch right there. Now here's the thing I did want to test out, because the official release one, or the actual one, I don't keep saying that shit, has the drop down right there on the hips. So I'm curious to see if the AliExpress one has that same feature. So, wow. Okay, so it also has the drop down hips as well. Now, when continuing the rest of the AliExpress figure, it does have the thigh cut, and then the cut at the boot right there, and then ankle articulation and ankle pivot. So still same range of motion as the actual officially released Spider-Man figure. Now, when comparing the Steve Ditko head sculpts, the one on the left is the one from Hasbro, and the one on the right is the one from AliExpress. And I think they virtually look similar, to be honest with you. I don't see too much of a difference. Apart from maybe... Actually, no, I don't really see that much of a difference. This one was actually painted pretty well as opposed to the one that's on there right now. Actually, just you could see a little bit of overage right here with the web lines kind of went over. But that's about it. Apart from that, the Steve Ditko head sculpt looks pretty damn good. Now I'm going to jump right into size comparisons. And first size comparison, here's the AliExpress Spider-Man sitting next to the retro-carded Spider-Man and the Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Next size comparison, here he is sitting next to the symbiote suit Spider-Man, aka the Just J. Hernandez Spider-Man, and the Armored Spider-Man. And next size comparison, here he is sitting next to two of my favorite Spider-Man figures in my collection. We have the Spider-Man 2099 from Mezco and the Spider-Man Miles Morales Gameverse from Marvel Legends. Alright, so my overall thoughts on the figure is it's good. You know, I'm not going to front, I'm not going to lie to y'all, it's good. Whether or not this is a knockoff figure or like an official manufactured Hasbro figure that was part of a bad batch, it's good. It's essentially the same exact figure that we got in 2020, just with a shinier paint finish to it. Now, the thing is, would I recommend picking it up and buying it? That's another story. If you're looking to be like a mint on card collector and pick this up at a much cheaper price than what it's going for here in the States, I wouldn't recommend it just because there's no way in hell that package is going to come mint on card coming all the way from China. As you saw from the beginning of the video, that box was beat to shit. If you're looking for this specific iteration of Spider-Man, then yeah, I guess I would recommend it at a affordable price of $40 and you're going to take it out of the box. Now, the only thing is, if you're just looking for a classic Spider-Man, then I'd probably encourage you to wait until Hasbro releases the new ones later this year. They're entirely pinless and have updated articulation. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, YouTubers. What do you think about this figure? Do you think it's a knockoff, or do you think it is part of a bad batch of figures that Hasbro made, or whatever? Let me know in the comments below. And like always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead, subscribe. Thanks for watching. It's different because the paint, it looks like it's a shinier... Fuck, that's one of the bloopers.